You ready to talk morning routines?
Well, it's the afternoon, so yeah.
Let's get it. The Be Well Now podcast. Hosted by the one and only Dr. Ron Dummar. A little too goofy on this Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, I guess we're feeling that energy.
I had a cold shower this afternoon, so I'm feeling it all.
Yeah, it got you energized.
I'm Nick, the Curious Patient. You are Dr. Ron Dummar, a functional medicine doctor, chiropractic physician.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Acupuncturist. Yep.
And I pitched you on the idea of this podcast. We talk about the meaning of life, spirituality, health and wellness, and you talked about how to have this amazing morning, the morning routine, and that's what this podcast is going to be about, how we can have an amazing morning routine. And so maybe you could tell us more about your idea for this and why you think it's so important.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about a morning routine is because of the way a morning routine will set off the rest of the day. As we were chatting before, we had mentioned, the phrase that people often say, "Oh, it looks like you woke up on the wrong side of the bed," which, first of all, I'm not sure what that even means. Maybe some sort of gymnastics during the night or something, and you end up on the opposite side of the bed. Tossing and turning, obviously, is probably the reference there. But even still, if you don't get a good night's sleep, it affects the rest of your day. And when you say to somebody, looks like you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, at least what you're suggesting is that something or some way that they started their day has carried forward to your experience with them now. So what that means is, at least in our culturally, we believe through this saying that the way we start our day likely is going to have an effect on the way the rest of our day goes.
I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this is the creation for the rest of your day. So let's go over an outline, let folks know where we're going to go before we go there. First thought upon waking. Take time to meditate, bringing light and love to your day. Read something inspirational. Compliment yourself. These are a few of the things, but let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
What does my morning routine look like, ideally, from your perspective? What can I do? Can you lay out a little roadmap for me to help me have a better day, to help me feel better, right? That's the idea. We all want to feel well and ideally live in the now, which is the Be Well Now podcast.
Absolutely. Well, recreating this moment when all of us have our first breath, we take our first breath. This is a magical moment. And for those of you that have been there, to witness a baby being born and to take its first breath, and the miraculous things that occur and the miraculous feelings that are had in that moment, it's a dramatic thing, and it's very, very touching and a very intimate thing. So each morning we have the opportunity to take that breath again. We open our eyes, we're conscious, right? Before, when the fetus is in utero, it's taking in fluid in and out of its lungs. That first breath of oxygen, of air, it's conscious for the first time of that air entering its lungs and clearing the fluid out. And each morning is an opportunity for us to be conscious, again, aware of the breath of life, the breath that's actually supporting and sustaining us. So first, I like to wake up, acknowledge my consciousness, acknowledge my presence in this world again for another day, and then take a nice deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. And then what I would say from there is I like to read or think about, okay, what are some really positive things I can have occur in my life this day? Or even...
So are we in bed at this point?
You're still in bed.
The lights on,
I haven't even gotten out.
Okay. So we're not even reading yet because it could be dark in the room.
Right.
All right. So I'm acknowledging my consciousness. I'm grateful for this breath. I'm in this world. And so now I'm thinking about what I want for the day.
Yeah, it's a creative time, right? And if you can give yourself enough time so that you can wake up and have a moment to process before being pushed on to something, before being rushed out. Remember when you were a child and you were playing with that favorite toy and your parent said to you, "It's time to go." The last thing you wanted to do was go. You were not ready to go. Now, if that parent says to that child, "I'm going to give you a few minutes. You have 2 more minutes. Finish up playing, say goodbye to the toys, and then we'll go." Typically, that process goes a lot easier. But if that parent, on the other hand, goes in and grabs that child by the arm, pulls them out of their state of play, their mind is completely broken off of everything that was just happening, right? They were in this state of flow. Well, if you were sleeping, we're getting into a nice, good, deep sleep. We're in a state of flow. We're in a deep, resonant sleep. So we want to continue some of that state of flow that we've been practicing and utilizing throughout our evening and the night to heal from. We want to continue that forward, okay? So in order to continue that forward, what we're going to do is as we wake up, we acknowledge again, okay, that breath, here we are again. Thank you for this night. And if we can, again, give ourselves some time before pushing ourselves out the door, saying, "Oh my gosh, we have to go right now. We've got to have it right now." Back your time that you wake up. Maybe give yourself, if you can't do another hour, give yourself 15 minutes, right? Give yourself enough time that you can get up, have some time to think through the day, to think, okay, what do I want to put on as far as a creation for this day? And it's going to be more of a feeling at this point, right? It's going to be a feeling. What do I want to carry through this day?
So like an intention?
Intention.
So you could set an intention for the day.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've done that. Okay, and then what?
So after setting your intention, then what I like to do is you get out of bed. Some people will have their phones close by and they'll read a lot on their phones, or they'll read on a Kindle or something, or a book. But read something, or read the words of somebody that is inspiring or that is thought-provoking, that maybe pushes the mind to think in a different way, not to just go through these same steps, and not necessarily a book that's like how to be super organized and how to be the most efficient in your day, that kind of stuff, right? We don't need any of. We're really looking for somebody who's going to be uplifting, or some words that are going to be inspiring and to touch your soul that morning, to inspire you so that you have now, you have set an intention, and now you have some extra words that you've put into your mind and into your heart that you're going to carry with you, okay? And I was mentioning to you this morning when I woke up and then started reading, I actually was reading some of Muhammad Ali's quotes. One of the quotes that I like that he stated as I was going through and reading some of his quotes was, "If my mind can conceive it and my heart believe it, then I can achieve it." And I thought, that is cool.
I mean, I'm sure I've seen that on some kind of poster in my, education experience in 5th grade with some, star in the sky. But yeah, if my mind can believe it, no. If
my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it.
So essentially the metaphor there is like we can start to believe and conceive in the morning as we begin the creation and manifestation of the day.
That's right.
So read some inspiring words. Now, at what point do we eat? At what point do we meditate? I know that you wanted to also talk about complimenting yourself.
Yeah. So next what I would do is I would take some time And so the reading can lead to your meditation. That's one of the reasons I said to read.
First.
And then you're looking for somebody who's inspiring or uplifting or provokes thought, because then you might carry some of that thought into your meditation, right? Or kind of toy with those ideas, ideas that really have no congruent full answer at the time, but something that you feel you could perhaps touch on, at least approximate in some way answering, right? You get close to an answer by thinking through it, by meditating your way through it.
Yeah, because I remember watching this Buddhist monk talk about meditating, and he would say, before I meditate, through this practice, may I benefit others, right? So you set an intention where it's not just about me, but I love the idea of having a foundation of someone's inspiring words and then starting there and then, okay, I'm going to meditate.
Yeah.
Even if it's not on that, if it's just, focusing on the breath.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're like totally turn away from it and you don't think again a thought about those inspiring words during the meditation. But sometimes some people really benefit from like a guided process. And so if they have something to contemplate when they're attempting to move into that meditation, it helps them to get into that space better. So then after you've accomplished that, you've done your meditation, ideally let's say we meditate for 3 to 5 minutes.
I mean, patients. If the people out there have never meditated before, that's its own Herculean mountain.
For sure.
I mean, we've done podcasts on it, but can you give me a little bit more on how I might try to meditate, even if I've done it before? I haven't done it in a while, but maybe if I'm going to do 5 minutes, help me 3 to 5 minutes. What can I focus on?
So the easiest thing is to focus on the breath. The next thing is, let's say, focus on belly breathing. So just focus that when you inhale, push that belly out. And when you exhale, pull that belly button in towards your spine. And just do that very rhythmically and very slow. Movements. So when we talk about Tai Chi or Qigong, I like to do movements sometimes with my meditation. And so you can't actually hold. Sometimes I'll attempt to or feel like, okay, I'm going to hold a ball. Or some people say, I'm going to say I'm hugging a tree, right? Or connecting with nature in some way. And you can just hold those arms up like that. And as you're breathing, you'll start to feel little areas in your body where there's a little more tension. And then your mind will say, what you want to do is say, okay, how do I relax that spot so that I can continue to hold these arms up here, right? But not be feeling so fatigued in the exercise that I'm attempting. And then just gradually throughout that process, letting each of those muscles relax as they are called upon by initiating some level of tension, right? And so you just allow that process to occur as you breathe and then move through your body, and there's your meditation, right? You do that 3 to 5 minutes, goes really quickly.
And the monk that I watched on YouTube for a while just said, meditate badly. Just do it, right? Like, what's the worst that happens?
One thing I like doing too is like just moving your arms even like this. If you're meditating, like for some people, it's really helpful to do movements.
Absolutely.
When they're meditating. And if you can focus on each little turn of your wrist and the movement of your elbow, but that way at least it's allowing you to focus on something internally as opposed to all these external distractions that might try to be taking over or taking control in the morning as you're looking to create something great for the day.
And one thing I heard about meditation too is there's 3 things happening. There's 3 different muscles that you're strengthening. One, and this is a metaphor for life, right, is when you realize you've lost focus on the breath. The moment you realize you're distracted. So we think that every time we fall or fail or lose sight of what matters, oh my gosh, I left my phone in the house and I'm halfway to work. Oh, I noticed that. Now it's time to come back to the breath, right? I'm so glad I remembered to grab my phone. I guess that's not the great comparison there, but the idea is like,
No, but I like
you get
that.
distracted and then you come back. That's one muscle.
Yeah.
The other muscle is kind of focusing on the in and the out breath. So it's noticing you've lost, and then the coming back is the second. So noticing that you've lost focus for minutes on end. You've been thinking about,
it's like, oh my gosh, here
your
we are,
revenge list and what you're going to do this day and what's for lunch and all these things. And then so the noticing is one muscle, the bringing it back is another, and then placing awareness on the breath is the third. So there's 3 different muscles that you're strengthening. And so every time you get down on yourself for getting distracted, just noticing it and then bringing it back, even if it's for a second, and then you're gone again, you're meditating, man. You're doing it. So
I love that you called that a muscle. Like, I love that.
It's a practice.
Yeah, I love that you called it a muscle, because the first thing that we say to people so many times is the first stage of healing is awareness, right? Like, if you can become aware of something, you can become aware of some dysfunction, you can become aware of something that you want corrected, right? Then you go, oh, there's something here that's not lining up, right? And you become aware of the fact that, oh my gosh, my mind's racing all over here, and I've got this voice over here doing all these other things. Boop, let's come back, right? It takes practice.
It's a lifetime
and you get
practice.
better at it.
Yeah, but like, you could do it every day for years and still get pissed off in traffic. You know, like, so we're still humans.
Yeah.
But you may notice that, and you may have some breathing technique, or you may have that muscle strengthened enough where maybe you're 30% less angry than you used to be when you were, 5 years younger. That's the way I look at it. It's like the nuanced, I still have all these issues that I deal with, but I have a different relationship with them. And sometimes my life is better because of it. But it's not like your life isn't going to be perfect when you figure out how to meditate.
Absolutely not. But this leads us to the next one, which is great. Because
I'm the one getting off topic. I'm a little bit.
We're going to segue. We're going to use your topic as a segue, which is fantastic. So the next one is compliment yourself. I love the idea of complimenting oneself, because it's frequently a challenge for us to think of something good or beneficial that we did. And often in society even, it's considered braggadocious or over the top or egotistical for somebody to acknowledge something that they did well or that they did a good job at, right? So I want us all of our listeners to recognize that it's time and it's okay for them to compliment themselves. So for you are meditating and then you realize, oh, I was out, my mind was running over there, boom, and then I was aware of it. And maybe you're aware of it sooner than you were the day before. And you can compliment yourself, even if you don't know, you don't have a watch, but compliment yourself. Oh, way to go. That was great. Look at that, how I realized where I was and I brought myself right back here, right now. And when we can be here now, then we can be well now, because we're acknowledging and taking stake of all of the concerns and all of the issues that are present to any sort of dysfunction that might be presenting itself. And if we can't take stake of that and be aware and be here, then we're going to be completely separated, almost as if we're in different dimensions. We think we're in the future, but our body is here, right? And if we can come back here and be here now, then we can acknowledge and understand, okay, this is how I can be well now.
I love that. If anyone's listening, I really want to get be well now or be here now tattooed on my arm. So if anyone's actually listening, we have 11 viewers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
I
The
think
mustache
go for
is
it.
first, the tattoo is next.
There you are.
A quarter life crisis or a reawakening. Who knows? So when do I eat? Can I have caffeine? If so, when? Based on when I wake up. Physiologically, is there data that you know about that kind of suggests
So
when we might
caffeine,
eat?
the data for caffeine really demonstrates itself as beneficent for effort. So if you're exerting effort in the muscles, if the muscles are necessitating some sort of level of contractility, it does generate a beneficial effect for people and their focus. Some people will use it to focus better, right? And I've even seen certain people using it in conjunction with some of their other medications, or trying to reduce from some of their other medications by utilizing caffeine. Ideally, if you can minimize your use of caffeine, it still is a stimulant, and it does have a contraction. It initiates a contraction of the adrenals and stimulates the release of cortisol that dumps sugar into the blood and can cause spiking of insulin, which then can lead to a variety of different issues with the pancreas and even possibly insulin resistance because the cells become overwhelmed. We have to be really careful with our use of caffeine, and we should use good discretion. We should really be...
Discretion? Is that
discretion, thank you.
I think on paper, I didn't mean to correct you, but I was like, what if that's someone out there?
Yeah, I think that's great.
So if you got the word wrong, what else are you getting wrong?
Yeah, just all of it. Yeah.
See, that's my thinking mind when I'm meditating.
There it is.
It never goes away.
So good discretion. Use good discretion,
yes,
right? So I
totally hijacked you.
That's all right.
You were talking about caffeine.
Yeah,
and
caffeine.
People
thank you.
are going to do it, I guess, when.
So
in relation, so you're recommending
I would
moderation.
do it. Yeah, I would do it on a limited basis. So most people are doing it right now multiple times a day. People are frequently taking several hits, several cups of coffee, or Mountain Dew, or energy drinks. There's Bang. There's all sorts of energies. Monster drinks. Right. There's tons of them out there, and they're amping people up with almost 100 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, each of them, right? So what I would say to that is, if you can begin the process, first of all, to be aware of the fact that you feel like you need caffeine in order to even function. Become aware of, what is it? Why is it that I need caffeine? If you can become aware of that, then you can begin to diagnose yourself with, do I need caffeine now? And is it possible for me to begin to limit the use of caffeine throughout my day? I would say if you're going to work out, using some sort of stimulant, 100 milligrams of caffeine is a really good thing. If you're going to play a sport, participate in some activity, there's a lot of really good research in there that shows that you can actually get a better pump in your workout. You can improve the contractility of the muscles by having a little bit of caffeine use. I would use it in that way. But occasionally, there are times when people wake up and they just feel throttled. They feel like, whoa, I'm going to need something to get through this day. And what I do personally is I say, okay, can I give myself some time? First of all, what are the things that we can use that in a healthy way or in a food-based way can actually give us energy? Well, eating an apple actually delivers the same amount of energy as a cup of coffee. So that's been demonstrated in research that you can have the same amount of the same pump, the same amount of energy from an apple as you get from coffee. The difference is where that and how the energy is produced, right? The apple's not sitting there cranking on your adrenals, causing cortisol to be pushed into your blood and dumping sugar, right? That's not what's happening. The apple is working to provide mineralization. It's improving the mitochondrial function in the cell itself, and the mitochondria is basically the powerhouse of the cell. And if we can have a well-functioning cell, cytoplasm, then we're going to have energy in our body. So let me just go back. I said a lot of things. Let's just say this. Let's first of all become aware of your use of caffeine and why you feel like you need it. For most people, I would say at this point, it's habitual. It's a ritual. It's something that they just need because they do it, not something that they need because it's actually a physiological need. It's just something that they do at this point ritualistically, right? And so, the smell of coffee, the warm drink, the warm tea, or carrying a Monster with me everywhere I go. It's more ritualistic than anything else. So be aware of the ritual. Are you caught in a ritual that is not serving you? And we do these things in our life. We all do them. We all have rituals that do not serve us. And if this is one ritual that's not serving you, then I'm calling you and asking you to become aware of why it is you think you need it so consistently.
It's not dogma that you're saying this from. It's because it's probably better to not. Although the caffeine is its own 3-hour-long podcast.
Yeah.
Because cultures around the world have been drinking it for how long?
We've all been drinking caffeine forever. Yeah, plants have caffeine available in them, natural sources of caffeine to be delivered. And there is synthetic caffeine, which most of these drinks have synthetic caffeine. So it's called anhydrous caffeine. So if you have anhydrous caffeine, if it says anhydrous, then you know for certain it's synthetic caffeine. We definitely don't want to be utilizing synthetic caffeine as your stimulant source.
Okay, so if people are going to drink a cup of coffee or a tea or whatever, when should they do it? After breakfast, before breakfast? Because we did a great outline there, and now I'm at the what's next.
Okay, all right, thank you. So now we're at the breakfast part. With your breakfast, have a cup of coffee. I would do it just before, right? I would do it just before because it's going to warm up the stomach acids. It's going to help prepare the body to receive the food, and the acids will be breaking down the food and delivering it to your liver. So absolutely, that's what I would do.
So before
you eat breakfast.
And is there an optimal time between when you wake up and when you have your first bite of food, coffee, whatever? I'd heard somewhere that some kind of gap would be ideal.
Well, I would say probably 15 minutes.
At the minimum, or just in general?
In general, if you can wait about 15 minutes, but not fluid, just food.
Wait, I can't have water when I wake up?
Can.
Oh, I can. I should. Okay.
You should. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You should have fluid. You should have water. Water is probably the best thing to drink right when you wake up.
Okay, so that's actually...
Even before drinking coffee.
Or before reading anything. That's early. So I've sort of chopped away at this, trying to distill some of the morning routine, but what have I left out? What have I stunted in terms of the creative explanation that you're at?
Well, let me look. I did write a couple of things down too. We talked about waking up 15 minutes, reading or listening to somebody that uplifts you, taking time to meditate, right? Listening to calm or relaxing music. That I think is a really important thing as well, because it helps to set the mood or set the state of the central nervous system.
Really?
Yeah. So
music.
A lot of people are very amped up, right? And believe it or not, you can have a lot of energy and not be amped up, right?
Yeah. This I've been trying to set an intention, because I've been doing some like yin yoga, and they're on YouTube, and they always say set an intention for the day, and I'm like, yeah. And the one that keeps coming to mind, they say set a word, but for me it's like peaceful energy. Because if I'm not energetic, like I feel horrible, I'm a nasty person. But if I have energy, but there's that fine line between energy and like anxiety or like having the edge. So I just want to have like a peaceful energy about me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I want to have energy to go throughout the day, but in a peaceful way that doesn't have that, come on, let's do this, you know?
Yeah, and
machine gun energy.
Yeah, and machine gun energy is more exhausting or taxing to your energy sources overall than the peaceful energy you're describing. So yes, we want to have energy. You want to have clarity of thought. You want to be able to use your muscles if you need to, right? You want to be able to perform those activities whenever it's required. But we need to be able to be in a state of calm at the same time. And so many of us in our culture right now are stuck in this rat race. We're in jobs that we have it's easy for us to get into a mental game of the rat race that makes us think that we don't like our job. We started out pursuing this job, right? Even interviewing and hoping that we would get this job. And then we get to a point where we don't like this job. Okay. And that's what this morning routine is in part to combat. Let's flip the script here and say, let's give myself some energy. Let's initiate some positivity here from the beginning of the day and be a very good positive vibe in the workplace. And let's see if I can be the one to set the kind of the ripples in the river or the ripples in the lake. When you drop that stone, you be the first drop and it starts to ripple out and you'll see what happens.
Of optimism,
and positivity, of change, of questioning almost. People are going to become more aware. That's the first thing that's going to happen, is people will become a little bit more aware of something different with you, and they'll wonder what's happening and what's going on, and they'll also internally be wondering how they can, or if they should, adapt something about their life and if that would make a difference for them. So anytime you make a change, and this is something to understand about cultures in general, people, anytime one person changes, everyone around them also shifts. They just have to. It's impossible for them not to. So if you make a shift positively, then other people around you are either going to say, okay, we're going to positively shift with you, or we're going to negatively, alternatively shift away from you. And either of those is actually a possibility. It's not just that, I'm going to start being positive and now everybody around me is going to be positive.
It's so interesting because I think a lot of people feel powerless. They don't feel like they matter. How does my voice change anything in the world? And yet, you're so right. Like even from your neighbors to the people you're at work with, how you act affects them, and that affects a lot of other people.
Every single interaction. Every single person that you have an interaction with at all. You shift, they shift.
Full stop.
Yeah.
And that's why a morning routine can change the world.
Absolutely. So if you, again, let's just hone on this because I think it's an important point. I think it's a really important point. By changing or adapting our morning routine and shifting our lives for the better, we're going to impact everything and everyone around us. Sometimes motivating them to change for the better, or sometimes motivating them to drop out of our lives. Okay? So you're going to see a lot of things happen and occur if you start having a morning routine that's focused like this. And I'm even talking about a 15 to a 30-minute morning routine. Now, if you can do an hour or a 2-hour morning routine, fantastic. Great. Do that. And extend each one of those so you put a little more time to each of them. But if all you can do is 15 minutes, then give a few minutes to each of those and see your life change. Like, I promise you, you're going to see things change in ways that you would not have thought were possible by physically going up and having an interaction or an exchange with somebody to tell them how you think they need to change. Right? I go up, I have an exchange, I tell them, you need to change, you need to do this, you need to do that. Why isn't this happening? Why isn't that happening? But if you follow this morning routine and you set your intention, then the way you carry yourself through the day, those things that you set to achieve or want to have happen, you're going to see the changes in these people around you almost without you even saying anything to them.
It might be so imperceptible, if that's even the way you say that word, that a year from now, you'll be like, well, what really changed? Mm-hmm. But it will. It will.
Yeah.
Let's end there. That feels
sounds good to me.
I feel great. I feel inspired. I feel, dare I say, well now.
Let's do it. Be well now, everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste.